Hi, I'm Gary, and welcome to a Friday Wrap at the Power of Prudence. Usually on Friday Wraps, I'm giving you a technique or principles of ways to improve your personal safety and security, or to talk about a certain principle regarding your personal safety or security. Today, I want to do something a little bit different. I want to talk about the equation that is increased capacity to take care of yourself and how that equals increased tolerance when trouble pops up or increased options in dealing with problems that are threatening. And this I'm doing this because it just so happened that I had a personal event here in my neighborhood right about the same time, 10 days ago on a Monday, that this incident in New York City on the subway and the former Marine happened. So I'd like to talk about a little bit about that equation. Again, the equation is increased capacity to take care of yourself equals increased tolerance and a wider variety of options on how to deal with a problem to negate it and protect yourself and protect others. So, we don't need to go into detail about what happened in New York City. Uh, I think that story's still coming out, and we can all read about that. In my neighborhood, 10 days ago, I was finishing up a work call one afternoon on Monday afternoon, and I'd heard some noise outside. Somebody being loud. I thought maybe somebody had company over, kids or teenagers. Somebody was yelling. Well, anyway, the phone rang, and it was one of my neighbors asking me if I had seen what was going on outside. So, hey, I was by the front door, took a look out the front, and there was a guy at the end of our cul-de-sac. I live on the very end of the cul-de-sac. He was at the intersection, probably 100, 125 meters, maybe 100 meters away. So, yeah, and this guy was yelling and cursing, screaming, uh, kind of weaving in and out. At times, I thought, well, maybe this person's drunk or on drugs. He had run over some neighbor had a trailer for yard work parked out on the street, and he'd grabbed that and pulled it out in the middle of the intersection, and just screaming. I noticed that he looked like was wearing a T-shirt, with writing on it, and it looked like pajama bottoms, and was barefooted. So, you know, I pretty soon figured out that something's going on. I quickly looked, and he was not armed. I could see both hands. So I decided to, go out without being armed or anything, to see if I could determine what was going on, and to draw his attention, because he was like running up into yards, pounding on doors, kicking at people's shrubberies and stuff, and then he'd run out in the street, and sometimes a little bit calm and sometimes screaming. So hey, I went out on the street, and he saw me and started yelling stuff at me, and I answered him calmly. He came towards me, and again, hey, look, I'm not the same young guy that intervened, made a citizen's arrest to stop an assault, or did some of the things that I've done in my past, hand to hand or unarmed. Uh, I'm not that young guy anymore. I don't want to get my butt kicked. But in this case, I was confident in my abilities to at least defend myself against an unarmed person, and where I didn't feel the need to to be armed and carry a weapon out there. Never know what that can lead to. So, yeah, this guy came up, and then he came up to me, and first he started yelling and screaming. I engaged him. I talked to him calmly. I, asked him what was bothering him, and he talked about AI and Elon Musk and blankety blank this and blankety blank that, and our lives are going to hell, and everybody's lying, and a lot of stuff like that. And he shouted questions at me and stared. He goes, "And you're gonna lie to me too?" And I just looked at him and said, "No, I'll never lie to you." Um, so he approached. He was glad to have somebody to talk to him, and I had the luxury to do that because why? I feel confident in my ability in close quarters, unarmed, to defend myself. Yeah, I in the past have restrained people. Um, and I was hoping I could still be able to pull that off if I really needed to. Um, so anyways, the yeah, it was a fast shifting thing. At one point, we sat down on the sidewalk together. He laid back on it and would talk to me a little bit. Then he'd jump up and scream and run out in the street and stomp around for a little bit, and or go somewhere else. And I kind of just followed him. And I was trying to ascertain where he came from because I didn't recognize him. And if there were family members, because I worried about what has happened in the house wherever this guy came from. And so I was trying to get to the point so I could get him to give me some information about where he came out of, and if everybody was okay where that was. And as it went on, he had moments. If you ever seen anybody in one of these fits where he was like really loud and yelling and screaming, and then moments of calm. He came up to me. I let him touch me. He put his hands on my beard and was rubbing my beard. A couple times he wanted to hug me. Hey, at one time he kissed my hands, and you know if I wasn't confident, like getting that close to a person that's in that kind of state and letting them put their hands on you and touch you could be scary. Um, and I feel I had divine grace with me, uh, helping me as well. So I didn't feel that need. Now I did not want uh, my girlfriend, Kim, coming home in the middle of this. At one point, he and I were sitting in our front yard. And again, I'm wondering how we're going to get out of this, and if he was ever going to calm down enough from, or some neighbor would call the police or whatever. But, after I think this probably went on more than 15 minutes. And then I saw at the end of our cul-de-sac a cop car go by, and then I guess it went to the other cul-de-sac and turned around. Next thing I know, it's nosing back in, and then I saw more cop cars coming. Then they turned, and he and I are sitting on our front yard, and next thing you know, I've got three cop cars spread out, facing us in the intersection, and then cops get out, and one's the lead, the other two are taking the wing positions and staying back, and everybody's got hand on the gun and tense. But then he said, "Hey, what's going on here?" And I said, "Hey, we're discussing Elon Musk and the what's happening with AI." And then I tried to give him a motion that, hey, he may, because I did think I smelled alcohol, had been drinking, but that he was in the middle of a psychotic episode. And then the cop told me, well, there's more to it than that. And then I saw another car pull into the cul-de-sac, and the cops started asking him. I decided, okay, this is the time where I need to back off and let police do their thing. And I scooted a little bit away, and the cops were asking him, what happened. Evidently, he'd been in a car. I don't know if his family was taking him to a place for his mental issues or what, but had jumped out of the car and taken off. So I don't even know what neighborhood he was from. And the family, I guess, had called the police. Um, yeah, and it went down, he was fairly calm and talking to him. And, they came up to him and one stood him up. But then they were going to take him into custody. And then when they went to put the cuffs on him, he resisted. And then it took the three of them to cuff him. But hey, I'm not knocking the cops. They were kind to him, and they did the minimum required to, take somebody who's being psychotic and thrashing around and resisting him and get him in cuffs. And then they were, kind to him and put him in the car. So what's the story? What's the reason for all this? I imagine that guy, in the end, I felt sorry for him. I thought, gosh, he's a psychotic guy. What if when the police trying to arrest him and he made a grab for somebody's gun? He could have wound up dead. What if, like happened recently in the U.S., he went to, an elderly 80-something-year-old person's door at night in the middle of one of these episodes, pounding on their door. That person is afraid and maybe doesn't have the capacity and capability and tools to take care of themselves, and maybe they answer the door with a gun. Well, then you don't know where it could go to. So what I'm saying is that, for those out there that believe in peace and you want to increase tolerance in the world, building the capacity to take care of yourself. And that's not just building the capacity to use a weapon efficiently, but always. And it's not just any martial arts skill. It's your ability to judge people and be with somebody and know the signs and be in close and be vigilant and know how to block and take care of yourself. But that gives you a bunch of options on dealing with somebody like that. My neighbors are much younger than me. Nobody came out until after the police took him away. But I have the training and the maybe more capacity. So I guess what I'm asking for each of you to consider is that, it's not just you're defending you're increasing your ability to defend yourself when you increase your capabilities, but you're increasing your ability to be more tolerant and have more margin for what you can allow others around you to do or to say, and still know that you can take care of yourself and your family. Hey, that's how I see it. This has been another Friday Wrap. I appreciate you listening, and please like and subscribe. Thanks.